on the end. There's nothing left of the dream I persisted. No way to go back again. I want you to save me from myself. Save me from myself. Save me from myself. I want you to tear me down and build me up again. Save me from myself. Save me from myself. Save me from myself. We don't belong together, so I bother. When I surrender to being useless, I am unable to breathe.
Sorry, I don't usually have my normal enthusiasm tonight. It's not that I won't have it. It's just we're gonna kind of start the show out on a somber note. Louisville, or Metro Louisville, took a hit today. We lost a brother in arms. Brandon Shirley, 26, sheriff's deputy, was shot in his car while working off duty at around 2:30 in the morning this morning. And from everything that I've read, there's still a lot we don't know. It appears that he was apparently targeted and ambushed. So, you know, our Phil and I's hearts go out to the Shirley family and everybody that knew him. And Phil, you're not on Facebook, but apparently there was a lot of EMS people that knew him. Now, you know, I don't know, to what extent or whatever. Did you? I think you and I talked briefly before we went live about it, but apparently you didn't know him.
I'm not familiar with him, no.
Yeah, not either.
But it doesn't surprise me, especially if he worked, that was his area down in the South End, Shapley, PRP area. A lot of, like you know how it is. A lot of police, firemen, EMS.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, we, I mean, as well as I do, we get that shit all the time, like, oh, do you know so-and-so?
Right.
Like, no, sorry,
right.
Like, if it's a firefighter in Lexington, I know a handful.
Right.
But everybody thinks you know everybody, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Nah, it doesn't really work that way. We all don't meet, you know what I mean, and hang out and shit. But yeah, so our hearts go out. So sorry. There have been no arrests, but the police chief is promising arrests soon. So hopefully they know more than what they're saying, and
yes.
Keeping it tight to the vest, which is fine. Just bring the fucker in. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So with that, what's been going on? Yeah, you had a hard night. You said.
Yeah, we're just busy, man. 17 hard days, hard night, hard night. That's just what it is, man. You get those night times. More.
That is the thing about a busy house is when you're busy, a 24-hour shift can be a long motherfucking time.
Absolutely.
Well, when you were new at Quintin, you were probably like, Jesus Christ. Like, it could be a fucking long day. But when you're busy, man, but then again, I've had busy days where I thought they would never fucking end. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the winter, man. The winter was always the worst for me. Audrey Sedlock says in the chat, which totally different thing, but so I was working a little security gig on my off day, and she was saying for me to be careful. It's and that's what he was doing. Like, he was doing basically, he was watching cars. That's what I was doing, was watching cars. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's always when you least expect it. So, yeah, for all the guys that are still doing that job, man, be careful doing it. Anytime that, you hate to say it. So, all right, I was telling you a minute ago, Phil, I want to talk about this. I had a very interesting conversation with a lady at Costco the other day,
right?
And I want to touch on that real quick. So, hi, Sean East, 15. Hello. So I was at Costco, and I'm doing my thing, I'm looking around, and so there's she was an older black lady with a young child. I mean, probably probably around, I would say 5. Okay, probably around 5 years old, and she may have been younger. I don't fucking know. So you know, I'd seen him a couple times, and apparently I was in the way. I'm way too quiet. Let me see. Okay, they're telling me I'm way too quiet. That's a fucking first.
I was going to say, I can hear you loud and clear on my end.
All right, is that better? Like,
am I low?
It's showing me in the red, guys. Like, hold on, I'll turn it up. How's that? Is that better? Y'all not used to me being I'm in my morning voice, man. Y'all not used to that shit. Y'all used to be yelling and screaming and shit all the time. Which I titled this show "Why Firefighters Are So Loud." Like, why are firefighters so loud? We're gonna get into that. I want to talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
I'll turn this up too. How's that? That Phil sounds fine. Here, Phil's got no microphone, no nothing. I've got all this high dollar shit, and I'm the one that's got the fucked up audio. That's just fucking great. Thanks, Phil. You're off the show. No.
Hey, Travis, keep it simple, stupid.
Right. Yeah. Oh, dude, trust me, man. I live my life by that. But then I don't do it. You know what I mean? So am I really living my life that way? Okay. So I'm in Costco. Running, you know, I was in her way, or we almost ran into each other. You know, I was like, "Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry." She's like, "No, big deal." So I was looking at these sandwiches. They're like these keto, they're turkey and egg, but they're sandwiches. You just put them in the microwave. They're really, really quick. So this guy comes over to me and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "have you had those?" I was like, "I have," and they're really good. And we got to talking, and she was over there. You know, apparently she was ear hustling.
All right.
So. Huh?
I said, we all do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all good. So, right. You know, we're in line and we're waiting. And, you know, it's kind of busy at Costco. And she comes over to me. She puts her hand on my arm and she said, "Honey, I need to tell you something." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she goes, "I owe you an apology." I said, "I don't think you do. But why do you think you owe me an apology?" She goes, "Well, it was her granddaughter. And she said, when we seen you the first time, you absolutely scared my granddaughter to death. You know, like she was like, Nanny, look at that man. And she was like, "I seen him, honey. I seen him." You know what I mean? Like, and I, you know, I'm laughing, you know.
You scared me half to death first time I saw your big ass.
Well, I may have been told a couple times I'm a little intimidating looking, okay? So then, you know, she's telling me, she's like, "You know, and then I heard you talking to that man about them sandwiches, and you were just as nice, and you listened to him, and you answered his questions, and you were very polite and well-spoken." She goes, "And I thought to myself, I believe her name was Anna or Anna or something like that." And she goes, "Anna, you just stereotyped that boy," you know? Mm-hmm. And she said, "So I owe you an apology." And I said, "No, ma'am, you do not." She goes, Yes, I do. I stereotyped you, and that's not fair." I said, "No, ma'am, you did not stereotype me. You did, but you didn't racially stereotype me. You stereotyped me because I could have been a threat, and you were absolutely correct."
Yes.
Like, don't ever think that a guy that looks like me is going to be me.
Right.
I said, and your daughter was correct too. I said, she may be a little too young to understand racial profiling, but she knew enough to say, "That man's scary, Nana." Mm-hmm. And that's a survival instinct.
Yes.
I said, don't discredit that. I said, now, if you racially profiled me and we start laughing, I said, that's a different story, you know?
Right.
I said,
right.
But a lot of people get the two misconstrued. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that work overseas that profiling individuals has kept them alive.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there's a big difference in a racial profile and profiling someone that could be perceived a threat.
Right. Have you seen that movie? Have you seen that movie Crash?
Oh my God, yes.
So you remember the scene in the movie when I think it was Brandon Fraser and Sandra Bullock were walking down the street, and coming the opposite direction was Terrence Howard's character and Lorenz Tate's character.
Yes.
Coming the opposite direction, and she grabs on to Brandon Fraser, and they're both like, she just profiled us. Like she did that for us, and all that. And it's like, because we couldn't rob her. And they go and they jack them, they rob them,
Right,
and it was like, you can call it racial. Some cases probably is a little racial profiling involved.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. But it's also like, an old saying, if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it must be a duck, know. So like coming from my end as an African American growing up in the hood, there was, you see it now. There's a certain image that some of these guys portray. They got the dreadlocks. They wear their pants down to the ankles. Not just black people, white people do it too. But they wear their pants down to their ankles. They, they everywhere. Other words out of their mouth is nigga or bitch or fuck or whatever
or something.
Yeah, the tattoos everywhere. Some of them got grills, whatever. People are gonna see that, and unfortunately, whether you're a thug or not, you are portraying the image of a gangster, of someone who could be a danger. And it may not always be fair. It could just be where you came from, and that's just the image you adopted.
Right.
But you got to be willing to accept the consequences that come with what you want to portray.
So to your point, even me, like I know I'm intimidating looking. I got fucking tattoos, and then I chose to put one on my fucking hand. That's if I get one on my neck, those are just if I seen, and even me, if Shannon and I, and we kind of had this happen. We were in Old Vegas. This was several years ago. We were in Old Vegas, and I swear to God, if you've never been to Old Vegas, and you're listening to this, and you're in Louisville, Kentucky, or wherever you live at, think of the most redneck part of your city or your town. Put a casino in that town. That's Old Vegas.
No kidding.
Oh my God, like Kid Rock lookalikes, Joe Dirt lookalikes everywhere. Like I couldn't believe it. It's not like high-end Vegas where people are wearing suits and nice shit. It's like tank tops, blue jeans, cowboy boots. You know what I mean? So, and even me, I told Shannon, don't walk off by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do not walk off by yourself. You know what I mean? And these were mostly white people. So, it's, again, for me, if I was downtown, or you know what? I don't even have to be fucking downtown. I could be in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. And if I seen two black gentlemen walking up to me with the gangster sag, maybe red and blue on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they've got dreadlocks, cornrows, you know what I mean? Like you said, I know that's the style, and I know it's a cultural thing as well. I'm going to view them as a threat until they're not.
Absolutely.
Now, is that to say that if he come up and ask me for directions, I'm going to be like, get the fuck away from me? No, I'm going to treat him like a fucking human being.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand where, and let's be honest, there are some people that are going to look at you, Phil, the way you're dressed right now because of your skin color, and they're going to stereotype you.
Oh yeah,
there are those people.
Right.
I'm not saying there aren't those people,
but
I think a majority of the people don't do that.
Right. Well, here's to simplify. I took psychology in high school. I took it in college, and whether anybody agrees with that or not, we all are constantly analyzing our environment, the people in our environment, the structures in our environment. You think about crossing a street. You're analyzing the threats. You're analyzing, is this car going to stop? This car, is there going to be a car coming around this corner? You're analyzing. You're constantly, whether you are aware of it or not, you're constantly in a state of survival. And if you're not, you're just lucky to still be alive because you're just walking around like an idiot, Right. But you can be walking anywhere. I could be walking. My neighborhood is a very mixed neighborhood. Uh-huh. When I say very mixed, I'm willing to say it's probably 50-50 when it comes to black and white. There might be a little bit of discrepancy, but literally, like, it's very mixed. And I keep walking down. I have a safe neighborhood. I keep walking down my street. If I see a group of white teenagers, and I live in a safe neighborhood, I'm still gonna have that threat. Like, be aware. These kids try to do something. They could be minding their own business. Sure. But we are break-ins. I've had, I had my gear stolen out of my car.
Yes. I do remember.
So we are all constantly analyzing threats. That's our survival. That's natural.
It's an innate. Yes.
Oftentimes we're not even aware of it. That's the thing. A lot of times we aren't aware of the fact that we're doing that. We're stereotyped. We all stereotype, whether we admit it or not. Some of us, and I'm gonna try to say apolitical here, but you got a lot of white people who are so like convinced or so determined to prove that they aren't stereotyping or racist or prejudiced that they will completely ignore the natural instinct to perceive a threat just to prove I'm not racist. So if I'm walking down 4th Street Live or somewhere around 4th Street Live, let's say it's 5th and Liberty at 2:00 in the morning, and there's a group of sea-looking gentlemen or women coming that direction, I'm not racist. So they're gonna put themselves in danger.
Sure.
Prove they're not racist, and you shouldn't do that.
Right.
Who
are you proving it? Who are you proving it to? You're not proving it to them because they don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
I think a lot of times prove it to yourself because you have some type of guilt, remorse. I don't know what it is. Like maybe you're trying to prove that you're just a good person,
right?
A good. There's a lot of good dead people.
You know Thank you. Thank you.
So, I don't know. That was what do they say? The old saying, which I think it's the intent was a little different than what I'm meaning it as, but the road to hell was paved with good intentions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of, my point to this, this was the funniest part, actually. I'm sitting there telling you, like, no, it's fine. Do not discredit that. Like, if you feel like you could be in danger or someone could inflict bodily harm on you, don't ever discredit that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between human instinct profiling to protect yourself, your well-being, and racially profiling. And she, she was listening and she was so nice. And someone said in the chat, well, it was really cool for her to come up and say that to you. I was like, absolutely it was.
Yeah.
So it was so, and her and I had we had a very, very good conversation. And at the end, she was like, well, honey, I never looked at it that way. I think I learned something today. And we both got to laughing. And I said, ma'am, if I taught somebody something today at Costco, you have made my year, And she just laughed. And she was like, well, honey, you have a nice day. I said, yes, ma'am, you too. And, so it's like you said, man, it's people need to, I don't know what it is. And we're seeing this all the time. It's funny when I see the videos of black men and women telling white people to stop. Stop.
Yeah.
You're part of the problem. And what I mean by part of the problem is you embracing these movements. You never had slaves. Unless, and if you said a racial slur sometime in your life, it's okay. A lot of people have, you know what I mean? Stop supporting these movements because you're not helping us.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate for a moment.
Yes.
Because I've analyzed this many times. Well, before I even started doing this show, being a guest on the show, I've thought about it. And whether it's a black, white person, Latino, whatever, I think about the council culture that we're living in now. And it's so absurd and it's so out of control that you have people that can make, a completely logical statement or put something on social network or whatever, and that's the end of their career. And then you have people who try to be silent, and they're gonna be basically forced by their peers silence is the same as compliance type of deal.
Right.
And
Silence
feel
and
like
violence.
they have to, yeah. So they feel like they kind of have to take a side or a stance, whether they truly agree with it or not. I don't know, but I kind of feel like some of these people, they're jumping on that bandwagon because at the end of the day, you got to think about it. It's their career. That's how they earn money. That's how they make a living. And I guess if I was in their shoes, so I wonder if I would have the balls or the guts to go against the grain, because I know that if I do, it's gonna be into my career. And that goes for black and white people. That's not just white people that have a lot to lose. Terry Crews. I'm not sure if you kept up with what happened with him last year.
Oh yeah, with Don Lemon.
Don Lemon. Well, even before Don Lemon, he made that statement about we're gonna be careful to not let black. Well, I can't remember what it was. Like not I can't remember the exact statement. I wish if I went on my phone, I would look it up. But they should not let this movement become a black supremacy movement, something on that nature.
Sure.
And he received an extreme amount of backlash behind that. In my opinion, a very reasonable answer, because I agree with that. I felt the same way. And his show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, was canceled after that. He's done a lot of guest segments on like shows and stuff to voice explain why he said the way he said. And just like me, a lot of these black conservatives, a lot like the Hodge twins, Anthony Brian Logan, even Candace Owens,
Larry Elder.
Yeah, a lot of these people, they come from the same environment that I came from. They come from a Democratic household. They come from poverty. They may have lived in the hood, other projects, whatever, what have you. And they see the same thing I see, that these cities and communities that have been led by Democratic leaders for decades, not only are they not thriving, they're going in the opposite direction. They're trying to do something different. And the powers that be want to prevent that. And I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of the political thing again.
Yeah,
but
no, it's fine.
But what I want, I kind of understand. I'm not gonna say I understand. I'm play devil's advocate, and I kind of see why some of these woke celebrities do stuff like that, because I think a lot of it, they're intimidated and they're scared.
They're scared.
Yeah.
They're scared.
They're about to lose. I'm
right.
If my career, I'm making, if that's where I earn a living, and I know absolutely no other way to make a living.
Well,
so I would. Sure.
I feel like, and this actually is a pretty good segue in what I want to talk about, about the women's wrestler, the Olympic champion. So like I feel like there's an anti-American movement going on. Like,
oh yes,
America sucks. Oh my God, it's the worst place to fucking live. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
And then, we of course we've got the fucking people that wanted to turn their back against the flag and kneel at the anthem and everything at the Olympic trials and all that other shit. And then you've got this young lady right here. I'm showing a picture of her, which I love this picture. It's fucking fantastic. It's her holding up the number one finger. So her name is Tamara Marianne Stock Mensa. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. I did it. All right. So anyway, she's the second woman ever to win gold in wrestling event in the Olympics for the United States. The first African American. And I want to play this video of her interview, which actually, it literally gave me cold chills listening to this interview. So I'm going to play it right now for you guys.
Love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent.
For you, that American flag around your shoulders looks pretty good. How does that feel to represent your country like this?
It feels amazing. I love representing the U.S. I freaking love living there. I love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent USA. Love it.
Well said. Congratulations.
Could you hear that, Phil?
Yes, I heard it.
Okay.
Yes. It
makes me emotional. It really does. It's because that used to be commonplace. Like, Every Olympic champion said that.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, we get her, which is a fucking breath of fresh air. And I mean, just what? Look at it. I mean, Phil, I know you couldn't see her face, but like, he's like, man, that American flag is good wrapped around, and she's just beaming. She's beaming and talking about, I love living here. I love representing. I mean, like, there was no put on there. That was genuine as fuck. It's as genuine as it gets. And I believe this, and again, I don't want to get political, any more than we already do, but this defund the police movement, this anti-American movement that's going on, it's going to rebound. It's going to backlash, and what I mean by that is the rebound is it's pushing people the other way. It's going to push people to stand up and be more patriotic because the majority of people don't feel this way. And Phil, so you're into psychology, and that was one of my minors at U of L. So what happens is if you look at men and women, let's take men and women for example, because everybody always says, they talk about the pay gap and all this stuff, okay, which there is. Not saying there is, but it's a little more complicated than that. I'm gonna take her off here real quick. Just get me and you. Okay. So what happens is if you poll like the differences between men and women, this is a behavior model that does this. I mean,
okay.
So it's behavioral science is what this is. So what they do is men and women, we again, what we were talking about earlier, there's definitely differences at the extreme ends. Okay, you're gonna have women that are super, super aggressive. Okay? They're on the extreme end. You're going to have men that are super, super aggressive on the extreme end. Now, more men exhibit extreme emotional behavior more than women do.
Okay?
But there's a cross section that covers most of us. You see what I'm saying? So, yes, there are differences between men and women, but for the most part and for the majority, we're the same. Okay? So what happens is when people are left alone, they go to what they should go to. And I say should, it's like they go to like women. So Switzerland, for example. Switzerland, they've probably done the most of any other country as far as equality goes for men and women in the like job market. Okay, like pay, opportunity, it's almost exactly the same. Okay, and what they found is there's more women that go into nursing, there's more women that are teachers, there's more women that are grade school teachers, there's more women that like the jobs that because women are nurturers, okay? There's a behavioral a characteristic of I believe it's agreeability, okay? Like more men are less agreeable than women. These are the jobs that women go to when there's no difference in pay. Do you see what I'm saying? And most women don't do dangerous jobs. Most women don't want to work outside. Most women don't want to work 80 hours a week. That's just it's behavioral science. So what I'm saying is like if people are just left alone to and not being forced to succumb to a leftist doctrine or a right doctrine for that matter, we love the United States. Do you see what I'm saying? Everybody loves freedom. Everybody loves freedom of choice. Everybody loves liberty. It's like one of the keys to happiness, right? So just seeing her, I know I got off on a tangent there, but just seeing her, and it's like, wow, why does that give me that reaction? And it's kind of like, well, it's kind of going against the trend, right?
It's a fresh air.
Right.
And not sure. Not to say you don't have a lot more people, whether it's athletes or actors, that have the same sentiment.
Right.
But the media, whoever runs it, they're pushing that anti-American narrative. So you don't get to see people like this athlete. You don't really hear their voices as much as you hear the people who are complete opposite. But I kind of like what you, to piggyback off what you said earlier. It's almost like we talk about two-parent household, mom and father, and when one parent is pushing that child so hard to be one thing, whether it's the mother pushing the daughter to be a gymnast or the father pushing the son to be an athlete or whatever, they push so hard that child goes against them, pushes back even harder. Sure. To the point where there's nothing you're going to be able to do to get them to go with your narrative. Right. And I feel like it's starting to happen. People, I know some people may not agree with this. I do genuinely feel there are a great deal of people who truly believe the propaganda they're being fed.
Oh yeah.
And my heart goes out to them because they think they're fighting a righteous cause.
Right.
It's almost like when you're fighting against the Taliban or Al-Qaeda or extremist groups. These people think they're fighting a righteous cause, right, but they're being propagated and misled for somebody else's own nefarious narrative.
Right.
And that's what these people are. They all, when you see stuff like the video George Floyd, Eric Garner, any of these videos where you see a black person being shot or whatever by a white police officer, and you don't know anything else. You don't know about all the cops getting killed. You don't know about what led up to that shooting. You don't know XYZ. It's gonna build something up in you. Mm-hmm. It's gonna build that resentment. It's gonna build that when you have the news, the media constantly saying, "Oh yeah, officers out here, oppressing black people when this and that XYZ." Right. It's gonna make you feel a certain way. Same way like North Korea. North Korea, they're constantly fed that America's the bad guy, right? They're constantly fed that America's the reason why they're starving. It's the reason why they have rolling blackouts. The reason why they can't, achieve more. It's America. And that's all they're fed. That's all the people think, that we are the worst people on the face of the planet. And that's what's happening here in America.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I don't know, man. It's disheartening to me, and I kind of want to get into this with you because, with you still being on the fire department and everything, I think you have a better read than I do. I've been gone a year in August. It's crazy, right? August 1st, the other day. So like, it's kind of like, damn, man, I can't believe I've been gone that long.
Right.
But so, I'm trying to think of the right word to say. Like, so. What do you think? Well, I mean, so what do you think causes this? Like, I mean, what causes people? Is it they're like shit lives? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they're so unhappy in their own life that like taking on this cause that, whether it's the media or their social circle or universities or they're pushing this shit. They're trying to get our public schools to push this shit, this narrative of America's bad. And if you had anything to do with a business, a social structure, and the past, you know what I mean, then you're bad too. You're the oppressor, and it's like, well, wait a minute. No, I'm not. You know what I mean? So, and I feel like, do you feel like that's why? And this is a long form question, I guess, but like the fire department and the police department, which we kind of know why the police department application is down, right? We know why that is, okay? Because they're the biggest racists of all of us,
right?
They're strapping on guns every day to go shoot black dudes,
right?
And that's just what cops do now. Like it's question on your application actually. It's like, do you want to shoot black people? Yes, I do. Oh, you're fucking hired. Come on. I mean, that would be the narrative, that's the narrative they're trying to push. But but for the fire department, why do you think applications and interest in the fire service is down so much? Are we being I always kind of, I tell my cop buddies this all the time, and they'll agree. You know, we don't carry guns because we ain't the bad guys. When we show up on the scene, we're always there to help somebody. You guys are there to arrest somebody or maybe shoot somebody. You know what I mean? So why is it we've always been viewed as the good guys, but yet our application, quantity is on par with the fucking police? Why do you think that is?
I have a couple of different thoughts on that. First off, I've had this discussion many times with people that's still in the fire department. It's a combination of things. One, the retirement system right there I think is one major factor. I think that was a major draw that no longer have that. People don't want to work 25 plus years. On top of that, with having to work 25 plus years, no retirement, you have the increasingly high rates of cancer amongst firefighters. And that's not a hidden secret anymore. That's something that's more and more people are realizing. And people are like, well, no, I don't want to risk getting cancer working a job that I'm not going to have.
I need to catch up. I went because I was really hoping Josh was going to be on tonight. Josh and I had a huge argument about this. He says it's not.
Not what?
That cancer is now the number one killer of firefighters. It used to be cardiovascular disease.
So he disagrees with it being cancer, or
yes.
He's saying it.
And that's I'm like, okay. Josh, no, the literature is there. It's trust me. I mean, I had a polyp on my vocal cord.
Oh, Zaria. Sorry.
And the doctor was kind of like, I didn't have a pop on my vocal cord. That's how I got into SEAM. And then when I got into SEAM, I told him I didn't have it. I'm like, I had one back in 2000, but this is why, Tim Groft, who was a firefighter that died of esophageal cancer, he was fucking 10 years younger than me, and it scared the shit out of me. And then the study came out that IFF did, a 20-plus year study, not just with firefighters in the United States, all across the world, and it showed absorption. It wasn't lung cancer getting us, it was absorption, prostate, renal, leukemia, esophageal, all these cancers what were killing us. And when I showed this doctor these findings, he fucking could not believe it. And he told me.
It's when you was still on us having that.
He told me, he said, this is what I do for a living. How did I not know this? And I'm like, man, I don't know, but that's why I'm here. So he ended up saying, hey, you came in for some hoarseness. We're going to run a scope. You know what I mean? He goes, you need to have this done. So if any firefighters are listening to this podcast, I know you probably get a medical through your fire department. I hope you do. If you're not, I don't get a medical anymore, but I got with my family care practitioner, and in September every year I go, and he does a lot of the same stuff that the fire department did. Blood work, chest x-ray, all this shit. Okay, so keep on top of your stuff, guys, if you're still in the fire service, because they can treatments are a lot more successful with early detection. And I know I sound like a fucking infomercial, but it's the fucking truth. There have been so many guys in my last 10 years on the job that were so much younger than me that were getting cancer, serious cancers. And a lot of them, for the most part, had successful treatments because it was such early detection. So there's my infomercial. Yes, my PSA, my public service announcement for you guys. But again, and I tell a lot of guys that come to me about the fire department, asking me about it. I tell them that, hey man.
So I know we kind of got through this, but there was something I really wanted to touch on. I know you and I probably talked about it a couple of times we were together. But going back to cancer, what's your opinion? Well, I'm going to tell you my opinion on overhaul, okay? And you can tell me your opinion. So overall, I think is for some fires is necessary evil. You know, if it's a house that's salvageable and there's some people living there, absolutely, we should be overhauling those houses.
Absolutely.
But I find being in the first district, which most of our fires are abandoned homes.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
And we go and fight these fires, and probably more than 50% of the cases, these homes are beyond redemption. They're going to be,
demoed in a week.
Yes, but we're overhauling these places, and I think you and I agree on this. Our cancer rate is increased because of overhaul.
100%.
That's where the danger lies.
100%.
So I know a lot of guys.
Not to cut you off, Phil, but for everybody listening that's not familiar with what we're talking about when we say overhaul, after the fire is out. Now, some cities don't do this. Detroit, Chicago, New York, they have overhaul companies, privately owned companies that have contracts with the city that come in and they overhaul. Okay, for the most part. Louisville, we still do our own overhaul. And what that means is when the fire is out, like Phil said, we get out all burnt contents, whatever's burnt, charred. Sometimes we leave things in that are smoke damaged. But if there's any way, it's called a rekindle, that this fire could start again, we get it out. We get it out. Once all that's done, then we douche. We call it douching it. We get a line in there and either foam or just blow out so no hot embers can start when we leave. And then we also have a thing called fire watch, which I think should be done a lot more often than overhaul, to Phil's point. Fire watch is basically there's a weakened structure and it's dangerous for us to be in there. So therefore we can't complete our overhaul operations the way we like to. So what we do is we overhaul what we can and then we fire watch it. And that basically means a company or a service truck, a guy in a service truck, they stay there with a line hooked up to a hydrant in case something does catch back on fire and he might can hit it from the, hit it hard from the yard, as they say. But that's a much safer option. And let me tell you, before it was put in SOP that we only overhauled for 6 hours and relieved, I've overhauled 8 hours before. Like, it's no shit. And when we left that fucking thing, it was ready for fucking carpet and drywall. Like the next day. Carpet and drywall company could have came in and fucking did everything they needed to do. Because we had cleaned it motherfucker out like you would not have believed. And 80% of the guys that are sitting there doing the work are going, this is bullshit. What the fuck are we doing? But the officer in charge, the captain, the rekindle goes on him.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm just a firefighter. So I don't get busted back to nothing. A captain becomes a sergeant on a rekindle. And if he's at a great house, he's transferred. That's how my department works. It's a lot of punishment. So they're like, hey, when I go back to the firehouse and put my fucking head down, I know that motherfucker ain't going to catch. You know what I mean? Totally understandable argument. Like, it ain't on me. I'm going to bitch because this is stupid, but it ain't on me. So therefore, I really don't get to bitch, even though I got to do all the work.
And that was something else I was going to touch on too. And of course, we don't have any authority. We can't make the change, but it's unfortunate that the captain has to make the decision of, I'm going to expose myself to myself and my guys to carcinogens because I have to protect my career, which I totally respect.
Sure.
I agree with overhauling structure, especially with a living home that's salvageable. I absolutely agree with it. That was my home. I would want my home to be protected too. But when you're out here overhauling these abandoned shitholes that are going to be bulldozed anyways, that are beyond redemption, its captain is forced to risk the safety of himself and his men for a abandoned structure to protect his own career or her own career.
Right.
And I feel like that's just, I feel like it's an old school mindset. And I know it's
very much so.
A lot of old school firemen triggered because you got some guys like, we need to be overhauling, and that's just that's tradition, that's the old school way, blah blah blah. Speaking of tradition, I was like, I made a little joke the other day because we were sitting outside on the ramp at 17s, 19's out there with us now. We're a temporary double house. And we were talking about, I forgot how we got on the subject. We were talking about how, like, the guys, old school back in the day, bring hookers into the firehouse and we smoke and drinking alcohol and all that.
Cooler in.
Yeah. And I made the comment, I was like, hey, everybody's always talking about tradition. Let's bring back those traditions. But like I said, I totally respect, the company commander's decision because they worked hard to get where they are.
Sure.
And I don't want to see any of these guys. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of really good company commanders. I don't want to see any of these guys lose, get over a rekindle. But I feel like the department has to kind of change their mindset. Hey, look, if it's a rekindle on a living home, absolutely, you're getting bumped down. If it's a rekindle on a structure that's going to be bulldozed, which goes back to the whole fire watch thing. The reason why you do fire watch, if it rekindles, somebody hits with the hose, knocks it back out. People knowing the risk that we know now. 10, 15 years ago, we didn't know the risk, right?
Right.
Nobody knew that most of our cancer was coming from us just, like you said, absorbing all of this stuff for hours. Right. Hours. You fight the fire for 30 minutes, you're there for 4 hours overhauling, absorbing all of that unburned content that's still in the air. Right. And that's what's causing the increased cancer. That's right. We know this.
We know it.
The stats are out. The studies have been done.
Yeah, it's science at this point.
Yeah, exactly. That's the science.
That's all the science, guys. So to answer your question, I had a conversation at Firehouse with, he's now a colonel. He will name nameless. I like the guy. I've always have. We've always got along. I asked a question on why arson gets an overhaul mask and we don't. Why is that? They're in here for 45 minutes to say undetermined.
Right.
And I'm in here for 6 hours. Well, your SCBA is really the only thing that filters out 100% carcinogens, which that's not true anymore, and I didn't even get into that with him, but I'd been researching overhaul mask. 98, 99%, they'll filter out most carcinogens, so that's pretty goddamn good. And I said, wow, Colonel, you know how bad it is to get bottles in the 1st District when there's been 2 fires in one day? So now you want me to overhaul 6 hours wearing my SCBA, a 35-pound tank and pack? Let's just not even talk about on-job injuries, work-related injuries. Let's just leave that to the side because we're all badasses, right? I said, are you going to pay overtime to the shop to bring the bottle truck out or bring somebody in to refill bottles because now the 1st District's, now the 2nd District's giving us you don't have enough bottles. So what the long story short was, and he deflected, obviously, if it's going to cost the department money, it ain't worth it. And he let me know that he was on the safety committee and these things have been brought up. Oh, that's great. That was 5 or 6 years ago when I had this conversation with him. Nothing changed. Arson still gets overhaul mask. The guys that do the fucking work don't. You know why arson gets mask? Is because there's not that many of them.
Right.
Now you start giving me and you mask, and then when our filters are bad, we got filters replaced. That's money.
Yep.
And that's out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and to your point, when you said it's an old school mentality, something needs to change, nothing's going to change until people die.
And people are dying.
And they are dying. They are dying. But
if they're not dying, they're having life-altering consequences behind it. You know, they're having, you know, I don't know. I just, like you said, people have that tough guy mentality. You got people that still won't even wear their own. You know, a lot of us have our own overhaul mask. A lot of guys won't even wear anything when they're overhauling. And I'm like, I don't care how tough you are.
Right. Oh,
gonna get you if he wants to get you.
Right.
It don't matter how fucking physically tough, how badass you are.
So to your point, this colonel, he mentioned that because he said that I was like, man, you know, I didn't know this is what I did in a fire when the fucking fumes were so bad, there was snot running out my nose while I'm shoveling. I took my Nomex hood and I did this because it's got to be better than nothing, right? No. Now we know Nomex will trap carcinogens in it. So it's actually the worst thing I could have did.
Right.
I should just let, you know, my nose filter shit out. But no, I think I'm being smart. So now we know all this shit, right? Well, I was like, man, we need to be telling drill school, like, everybody that comes to drill school needs to know the risk, the dangers, wipe that band in your helmet, use those wipes, take a fucking shower. You know how many nights I fucking was at Sixes and we would make fires at night and I'd be so dead dog tired I came in. I did good to get my bunkers off and hit the fucking rack.
Right.
I didn't take no fucking shower. Probably wore the stinky ass shirt that I overhauled in on the way fucking home. I'm like, fuck it, I'll shower when I get home. Worst thing you could fucking do. This colonel said, oh, well, he goes, if we would have told you when you were new, would you have done it? And that's that's irrelevant.
That's a valid point, though.
Okay.
Because it goes back to how this whole conversation started.
Right.
When you was asking about why people aren't applying for the job.
Sure. Right.
So,
well, yeah,
you know,
right.
Well,
my point being is, if you'd have told me as a new boy all this shit, I might have not done it. But that's on me.
Right.
Until you put it in SOP and the safety officer comes around and wants to know why this motherfucker don't have his overhaul mask on that they issue now, you got no fuking excuse.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But they don't do that. So they leave it to the individual, which is fine. We're putting mask mandates in for public health, but fire department doesn't seem to fucking care. But anyway, that's another
right.
You know, and I told him, I said, that's on me. You got to give me the information first. That's on you. And we know this shit now, and they're not teaching it in the fucking drill academy. I don't know if they are now or not.
But I will say this, they are, because we actually had a class in my academy where they were talking, because they actually talk about the overhaul mask. Even though they do block out, I don't remember the exact percentage of particulates and stuff. They don't have the ability to block out the smallest ones, which are gonna get through. And they talk about how the SBA is at that current time was the only reliable source.
It's only 100. Yeah, it's the only 100% protection.
Right. But that's for your airway, like you said, absorption.
Exactly.
This stuff's absorbed through your skin.
Right.
It's still absorbed through your skin. And then, not to mention, you talked about it earlier, injuries. If you're overhauling with that heavy SBA on,
I couldn't imagine.
You're gonna tear people's backs up.
Yep.
And then you have the whole new monster that you have to deal with.
That's right.
I don't think there's an easy solution, but I think one of the, going back to what I said earlier, one preventative solution is to kind of limit people's exposure. You know, I know that overhaul is necessary evil in a lot of cases, but there's a case where overhaul should not be done because the property is not worth salvaging and overhauling.
So let me put this to you. I'm gonna go one step further because this bothers me almost as much as that does. Why are we fighting fires in abandoned homes? Why are we aggressively fighting fires in abandoned structures? Anyway.
So, I guess from my understanding, you know, I'm still one of the newer guys, and I don't have that 10+ year veteran experience, you know. But the way I look at it, especially being downtown, houses are close together, you're protecting exposures, right?
Right.
You might have
no, I'll get that. Yeah.
that house next to it, someone could be living there.
Sure.
So that's not always the case of, you're so now should we be, like you said, aggressively? I guess it depends on what every case is different, right? Every house.
If there's no exposure problem,
yeah.
Why are we doing it? So the reason I say that is one of the last fires I made, the last week I was on the job, I had literally 7 days left.
Mm-hmm.
We fought 2 structure fires. They're going at the same time, both vacant, no exposure issues, and we're aggressively fighting these motherfuckers. A chimney falls from the main fire building that they had already called everybody out of, and it butted right up beside the new fire structure, the exposure problem. We're making entry. Chimney falls off the main fire building, almost kills a guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what the fuck were we doing?
Right.
And I had a colonel come over to me and tell me, hey, Trav, watch that chimney right there. It's about to go.
Right.
What the fuck?
Right.
Get everybody the fuck out of here then.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And it's a God's miracle that only one guy was hit, and I would have been dead because I was kneeling down to put my mask on and had my helmet off with my back to the structure. The guy that got hit was right beside me, masking up. A guy from Squirt 9 had charged the blitz fire, and they had already charged it, and he was trying to move it. So it was a bear. And he's trying to get over the fence, and I'm like, God damn it. I was like, hold on. So I got up, put my helmet back on, and fucking went over to help him get the blitz fire over the fence. I felt the shock wave right behind me. I got pictures of it. The chimney literally, when it hit and fucking fell forward, it ended right at the back of my heels. And when I turned around, I knew there was a guy behind me.
Right.
And when I went over there, I heard him moaning, and you know what I mean?
Right.
It was a bad fucking scene, let me tell you. And it's still bad. He's still not back to work. So, it's why are we doing it? Well, we're a Louisville Fire Department. We're aggressive. No, I get it. I take pride in that too. Trust me.
Yeah.
Being with the union.
Pride can get you hurt and killed too. Sometimes you have to.
Hell yeah.
I don't want to say swallow the pride, but you gotta kind of put that pride's gotta take a back seat sometimes.
Gotta take a back seat. What I want to know is the guys that were in charge of that fire. It's called after action report in the military. Like, so if someone gets hurt, there's an after action report. Like, what could we have done to prevent? And it goes back to, I've said this before about critiques. It's a lost art in the fire department. No one critiques fires anymore, not like we used to anyway. And it's a fucking, it's, if I could change one thing in the fire service, it would be that. Like, everybody on that fire needs to get together. I don't give a shit if it's 2 weeks later. And, hey, man, we need to talk about this fire on 42nd Street. We need to talk about this fire on 18th. We need to talk about the fire we did on Bank Street the other day. Even if they go good, give a scenario where it doesn't. All right, so, hey, what happens when engine 6's water, the hydrant fails or the hose busts? What would you do, 17s? What would you do, 22s? What would you do, engine 2, truck 1? You know what I mean? Like, school, educate.
And, like you said, even when it goes good, you can talk about it. Why did it go good? What did these guys do that was correct that helped this scene go so well?
Yeah.
Because I think that's something that's kind of, everybody only wants to focus on the bad.
Sure. That's a great point. Yes. Yeah.
Talk about, so-and-so make the call, do this, and that was a great call,
Right.
And then you can do the whole differential. Well, is there another call that the company commander or the major, whoever could have made that could have still had the same outcome or a better outcome? Because they made this call that could have worked more efficiently. Brainstorm.
Exactly. It's a brainstorming session. It's all it is.
I mean, that was one of the most interesting things about the fire edition book when we was in drill school, was reading those stories about, at the beginning of each chapter or whatever, talking about, there was a incident that happened. I forgot what it was called in the chapter, but it was basically like an incident thing. And this happened XYZ, whatever. And I always found those very interesting because it kind of gave you a little insight. It kind of made you I don't know, it kind of made you think about a lot of stuff.
It brings things to attention that you might not paid attention to before.
Absolutely.
And then,
right.
And then it's like anything else. When you're training, it's like, so when you're shooting and you have a malfunction, it's called tap, rack, and roll. Okay? You tap the mag, you rack the slide, and you turn it so the stovepipe or the shell that misfired ejects.
Right.
Okay? And you do that so much, it becomes muscle memory.
Yep.
Okay? But I remember the first time it happened, and I went, ow, tap, rock, and roll. You know what I mean? So it's like, if no one ever taught me that, then when it happened, I'd been like, hey, what the fuck do I do? You know what I mean?
Right.
But, you may have never even thought about what do I do in a misfire before. And one of the points I want to make about the overhaul is it also give you, if you're on a truck or engine, it gives you a different perspective duties performed. And I can remember being, when I was at 22s, we'd have big fire. How do we bring everybody in the next on day? It was usually payroll Sunday because everybody had to come to 22's truck for payroll because we used to do payroll like that. So we were all there anyway. 17s, 22s, truck 1, 6s, 7. I want y'all right here. We're going to talk about this fire the other day. And say there was a water issue, or say the roof didn't get opened, okay? Or it was slow getting opened. And everybody's like, man, fucking truck 4, man. Those motherfuckers had their fingers in their ass. I mean, what the fuck were they doing?
Right.
Well, then when you hear them talk, they go, hey, look, when we got there was, we got report of a rescue in the basement. There was bars on the basement. We were doing extrication. That's the reason we didn't go to the roof immediately. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, shit. Maybe they weren't pieces of shit with fingers up their ass. But you would have never known that if everybody didn't talk.
Yes, because that's one of the things that I see. I think it was we talked about it a little bit very first time I guessed on the show about some of the bickering and some of the trash talking and all that. And that's when I see this company did this and that was just dumb, and I'm like, I'm kind of keep my mouth shut sometimes.
Sure.
Kind of keep it like but you wasn't there. You don't know what they saw. You don't know what they were doing. It could have been a bad call. Don't get me wrong. It could have been a break.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But you don't know what they're seeing. And we see that a lot. There's a lot of criticism of sometimes the way people operate on fire scenes or whatever kind of scene. It might not necessarily be a fire scene. It could be an extrication or whatever. And but you don't know what you didn't see what they saw. You wasn't there. You don't know what kind of obstacles they had to overcome. Right. You don't know what they had to deal with, like you said, about the truck companies trying to work on rescues. Like, go bring ventilate. They were busy on trying to preserve life.
Right.
Exactly. So
when they pulled up, they seen this and they reacted.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the reason you have a district chief calling out things on different sides.
Yes. So when you have a discussion between the groups that were there, you can hear, because how it is. We all are in our own world on the fire scenes, organized chaos. You don't know what everybody's doing at that particular moment.
Right.
And when you do that discussion afterwards, that critique, you can ask, well, why'd you do this? Oh, I did this because of this. Was it the right call?
Right.
We can talk about that,
Right.
But I think it helps to have that discussion instead of people just criticizing companies.
So what we do, now, I don't know if we did this where you were there, but especially when I got to Quint 10, we would make fires, and a Quint's a different apparatus. It does truck and engine work, and y'all should have been engine, y'all should have been a truck. You know what I mean? It's like, motherfucker, please. Anyway, so when we would get to talking about fire, and we'd be like, I wonder why eights didn't do this. Why didn't so-and-so do that?
Right.
And I'd be like, I don't know. Let's call them. And I, being in Cap's office, and especially when Art Alexander was there, we would always discuss what went right or wrong in a fire. And if someone fucked up, I'd call. And you could tell when they did fuck up and they didn't want to own up to it. And then sometimes you got that perspective, like, oh, this is why we didn't bring water to the rears, because Mage called, wanted us to come up front for manpower or whatever. And it might have been Mage's fucked up, stupid ass call. Like, well, fuck, he just said Mage called him. Oh, that's why they did. You know what I mean?
Right.
So communication, man, right? I mean, that's fucking 101, man. Communication. So if you guys, if there's any younger firefighters, or I don't give a shit if you're an older firefighter, you ain't never too fucking old to learn something new. If you don't have the critique or some type of school after action report or whatever it is, you guys need to get it. You need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bitch session. It's not a call out session. Sometimes it may need to be that, but that's not really that constructive. Howder had a way of doing them. Major Howder had a way of doing them to where, he'd be like, all right, guys, we know there was a water issue. It's been discussed. Now, what happened after we did get water? You know what I mean? Like, he had already addressed the fupa that everybody else was talking about. We're over that. It's been addressed. We're moving on. Now we're going to talk about the rest of this.
All right.
So it wasn't like, oh, fucking 19 stupid motherfuckers. You know what I mean? It was always constructive. Always.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's another issue that can come about if you have a critique where it's just a bitch session or a call out session. Right. Because let's say the people in a certain company, I'm gonna use myself as an example. Let's say we had a fire, and let's say I completely fucked up, or maybe shit just didn't go right. I mean, I could be fucked up, shit didn't go right. And I got all these guys saying, oh man, Phil Collins, that dumb motherfucker, he went through this door, we should went through that door, or whatever. And what you're gonna do is you begin to mess with guys' confidence, right?
Absolutely.
This person's gonna begin to second guess everything they do, because man, I completely fucked up on that fire. You gotta be constructive. Oh, look, you're good. This here. Next time, you gotta analyze this situation, realize this is what you should have did. And I'm not saying everybody has that same. Some people don't give a fuck. Some people are like, I don't give a fuck what you think.
Sure.
Everybody's different, right? Everybody's different.
That. Right. Absolutely.
Most of us, we want to do a good job.
Yeah.
We want to, do right by our fire department. We want to do our community proud. And when we mess up, a lot of us, I'm hard on myself. I'm very hard on myself. I will tell you that in a heartbeat. Even if things go right, I'm still thinking, what could I did better? What could I, there's something I did wrong. Even if I didn't do anything wrong, I'm thinking, because I want to have that perfection. And when you start getting people that's just constantly coming down on you, it does begin to mess with your confidence. And that confidence is very important. Psychologically wise, it's important. Athletes, when athletes begin to lose confidence, it affects their skills.
Absolutely.
So
no
I'm glad you brought that up. As a way you got to do the critique that's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Well, and I think this is another show in itself. Is I've said this. I was actually talking to a J-Town firefighter the other day at the gym about this. I can't speak for any other fire department in Louisville. Louisville Fire Department is fantastic at teaching you tactics. We're fantastic about teaching you how to be aggressive firefighters. When you get to sergeant, captain, district chief level, or people that can actually implement these types of structure, they're horrible. They're horrible. I dare you to find a captain or a district chief or a colonel, for that matter, that has ever taken a class in how to manage people.
Mm-hmm.
How should we go about instituting changes for safety, for tactics? We don't do any of that. They send you to drill school and you have a fucking boring ass fucking class, somebody talking that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You know what I mean? And it's like, why am I fucking here again? You know what I mean? There's probably some people that worked with me that thought I hated training. Never hated training. Loved training. Good training.
Mm-hmm.
Training that I could actually use in the fucking job. What'd I tell you, Phil, when you first got on a job? I'm like, look, man, I ain't the guy that's going to teach you friction loss. I ain't that guy. I ain't the guy that's going to tell you how many pounds of pressure is on the end of that jaws of life. I ain't that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the guy that's going to tell you the shit you fucking need to know.
Right.
You know, I mean, because it's just like kind of like EMS, right? It's like CPR. It's like, hey, you got to do CPR like this now.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get you on the street and you get in the back of a bus, you're going to do CPR like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? You need to know the correct way. You do need to know that because there is a structure to this. Okay? It's kind of like in weightlifting. We teach cheating's okay at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you need to have really proper form to keep from injuring yourself. But when you learn that proper form and you master that proper form, now we can teach you to cheat and get a little bit more out of your muscle. We can teach you CPR to get a little bit more hyperventilation, a little more blood perfusion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And CPR's kind of changed. That was kind of a bad example. But the it still stays true for what I'm trying to say is that, you know, we need and I'll reference the comment. Audrey Sedlock says, no offense to the show, but that's why there should be more women on the department, especially higher ups, because they're better communicators, and we'll make that happen. So what I'll say to that is what we were talking about earlier about men and women. There's really no science that says women are better communicators. Now, they're more agreeable. They're more agreeable than men are.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, maybe women keep their ego out of it and can get the point across better. I'll say that. As far as men and women go, what I think should happen is there should be more teachers in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
Every captain should be some type of teacher. Now, granted, whether he's good at it or not, that's kind of irrelevant.
Right.
But there needs to be a school structure, a training structure, not just department-wide, but company-wide. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And not the shit that's the hot topic for the minute. I'm talking about shit like rescue training.
Yes.
Ventilation training, lightning in, which I still say is for 20 years of the fire service, it was the most underutilized job on the fire ground. You had fucking 10 guys and RIT and everything else standing out front of a structure while the line guy is fucking getting his ass beat because he's hung on the fucking stairwell that he went up because 10 guys out front ain't fucking helping lighten in the line. And if you've ever been in the fire, I did call the show Why Are Firefighters So Loud? It's probably because the guy on the line's going, light in, and nobody fucking does it. So, that's the stuff I try to tell the guys in drill school, the instructors, like, hey, man, I don't think you can harp on that enough.
I think everybody wants the glamorous job,
That's
right?
all they want. Yes.
Everybody wants to either be on the line or they want to be on that roof cutting the hole, right? No, nobody. That peon job,
right,
with the plastic hook and
it's sexy.
Yeah. So everybody's thinking, they're standing around looking, what can I do that's going to be the glory job?
Me and Josh, and this is
not glorious.
When me and Josh were at Sixes, especially when we came in your neck of the woods, because that was all the other side of the West End for us at 17s. We were usually a RIT group.
Right.
Okay. So that was because Josh and I hated it. Like, we hated people not fucking lightning in. And we would always, like, if we seen, like, hey, man, they're, if you're watching, you could see where they're fighting it. You can see, like, fire going out, or maybe it's not, and it's still further in the back of the house. And you could see how much line's gone, and we'd be like, hey, man, we need to lighten in. And I can't tell you how many times Jimmy Fredericks or Howder would be like, Josh, Travis, what are you doing? Because, in RIT, you're not supposed to be doing a whole lot. And we were an active RIT group. And we'd be like, hey, Mage, we're good. We're just lightening in. And we would just stay at the front door and just shove hose in. Mm-hmm. Just can't hurt.
And see, I think that mindset of people being in RIT, they're trying to change that. They now want people in RIT to be, hey, you can throw a ladder up, So help the crews,
Stay in radio contact.
They're like, you can still be available if shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
But you can be out there doing something that's productive and helping the guys.
Absolutely.
So I was getting that. That's
now, see, now, now I'm glad that's going to be a cultural change, because I remember it was RIG when it first started. It was a Rapid Intervention Group is what they called it. And then it became Rapid Intervention Team and all that other shit. But this could be a whole other show. This could be a whole other show for us. But we're going to wrap it up, guys. We've been an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you guys so much for you all in the chat. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. I know this was kind of I didn't get the time out real early. It's, he was Phil had a hard night last night. We didn't get to speak, and then I ran into some stuff. We were going to start a little earlier, so sorry about the time, guys. We'll try to nail that down better in the future. But so, guys, if you have not been to iTunes or Anchor, please do that. If you have not left a five-star review on iTunes, I'd appreciate it. If you don't think we're five stars, give us 3 stars. I don't give a fuck. But just write us a review. Constructive criticism is always welcome, as we've so noted in tonight's show. But thanks a lot, guys. Love the interaction. Love the feedback we've been getting, and we'll continue to hammer it out next week. Phil, you good for next week?
Hey, hold on. And make sure I don't. As long as it's a day I don't have to work, I'm in.
Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm off Wednesday, so yes, right. Count me in.
All right. Follow the social media on Instagram and Facebook, guys, for more times. And if you have a subject, the fire department related or not, that you would like for us to discuss on the show, shoot me a line, and Phil and I will talk about it on the air, and I'll give you a shout out too. Guys, thank you so much again for your support, and have a very, very, very safe weekend. Head on a swivel always. And for that, Alpha Bro shows out, guys.